things. None of those things say, wander around a warehouse looking for somebody to help you. Nope, you have a list of things and Ace has them. From lawn and garden brands you trust. We also have local experts who make sure you get everything you need. Because at Ace, we have our own list and great service is at the top.
Hi, this is Shelley at Gibson Ace in Clinton, the helpful place. Stop by our store today where our helpful staff are ready to assist you.
When it comes to treating a patient at the Warner Hospital and Health Services Emergency Department in Clinton, seconds count. CEO Paul Scourin here to let you know we have invested in an upgraded state-of-the-art CT machine, which is adjacent to our emergency room. It enables our ER doctors to detect and diagnose what's wrong more clearer and faster than ever. Bigger hospitals have it, and Warner Hospitals got it. When seconds count, count on Warner Hospitals ER and our just installed CT machine to get you treated fast.
Liberty Village of Clinton hopes you'll pause for just a moment to think about the good things in your life. There's a lot to be thankful for. Each one of us is richly blessed. Liberty Village of Clinton hopes you'll have a happy holiday, a real day of Thanksgiving. Loving family, good friends, a good meal. They're all part of the tradition of an American Thanksgiving Day. But isn't there something missing? The Clinton Community YMCA in Clinton says sometimes we forget the real meaning of Thanksgiving. Count your blessings and give thanks. Clinton Community YMCA in Clinton extends the best wishes for a happy Thanksgiving.
The Miller Media Group is looking for someone who's local, in sales, and wants to advance their career. We have an immediate opening for an account executive who understands the importance of small businesses to our local economy. Just bring your sales expertise to us and we'll train you with above average pay along the way. Prove yourself to us and you could be promoted to sales manager for our radio group with a great compensation package. It all starts with an email to sales@randyradio.com. That's sales@randyradio.com. We're an equal opportunity employer.
You're listening to The Morning Show, streamed by clicking the WHOW live icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
Top of the morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. My guest on the phone is Fred Lamkey, Superintendent of Mt Pulaski Schools. Good morning, Mr. Lamkey. How are you, sir?
Doing just fine, Seth. Hope everything's well with you.
I could go for Illinois winning games where they don't give up turnovers in the last 30 seconds and lose on a layup. But other than that, I guess we're doing all right.
Yeah, so I tell you what, I saw us lose that game, and I couldn't even get mad at the end of it because I never felt we deserved to win it.
Yeah,
and,
right.
That was ugly. It was really ugly.
I was texting a few buddies. I was like, this is such an Illinois way to lose. You know what I mean? Like, you have the lead the whole way. You're not playing well, but it's like, okay, if we win this game, we feel like we did something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it kind of felt like we've been there before, didn't it?
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, we're Illinois fans. We've been there before, obviously. So, but at any rate, Mr. Lamkey, let's dive into what's going on in the district. And I know you and I caught up last time, and we're going to kind of expand a little further on this. In capturing kids' hearts. This was a program that we introduced to listeners in our last visit. Give us the 10,000-foot overview of what this program is all about.
Yeah, it's social emotional learning for our students, but it's not just for students, it's for teachers. It's about building relationships with students that allow us to, one, when a teacher has a good relationship with a student, the student's going to be a better learner. But two, it also allows our teachers to get a little more insight to those students' lives and maybe recognize issues, problems, or concerns before they get to a place that they become a problem, a huge problem. And it's really about building relationships and understanding how a child's mind works and how you develop that relationship. And we did a training of it starting the year. And one thing that happens in education all the time, you do a one and done. You bring a trainer in, everybody thinks it's great, and then you're done, and there's no follow-up on it. But the great thing about capturing kids' hearts is that they follow up. So right now we have a 2-day session with them coming in, and they're working with about 12 people from our district that they're creating what they call process champions, meaning that they're building some experts inside our district on what capturing kids' hearts really means and what it does so that we can maintain that. Because, we started this off in August. Here we are in November, and everything kind of starts waning off in November, and you start losing a little bit of focus as you get to the holidays. The honeymoon's over in the classroom, And so this is a perfect time to get in there and refresh our people about what we're supposed to be doing. And I can tell you so far this year, coming out the pandemic with so much potential for social and emotional issues in our district, we're not having them. And I really believe it's because of the approach that comes from capturing kids' hearts.
You mentioned the component of, you have a speaker come in and you learn something and everybody's fired up and then nothing happens. That's not unique to education. I feel like that happens all over the place, and I hear about that all the time. It's interesting how that how that happens. And one thing that I'm starting to hear more of is about follow-up, and so that's great to hear in terms of this program specifically, because you mentioned it, Mr. Lamkey, just briefly there. We've seen so much increase in terms of kids with emotional and mental challenges, especially in the last 2 years now. It's great to see that those things are starting to diminish in your district. What does that look like, though, at a more micro level, at a more interactive level, and what is what do those conversations or reach things when teachers are reaching out? What does that look like?
Well, we're trying to really take a look at our student body and make sure that there are no students falling through the cracks. So we honestly, we're kind of dividing our students and saying, who has a relationship with this student? Who has one with that student? And you're starting to find the students in between who, don't draw attention to themselves, don't really go out of their way to create a relationship. There are potential for falling through the cracks. And then we're reaching out with them and trying to find those students specifically. Our high school principal, Heather Fricky, does an outstanding job. This will be the second time this year we've done it, but sending home cards to parents and families talking about their kids and how much we appreciate them being here. It's one thing to have a casual conversation, but when you get something in writing and somebody makes the effort to do that, it means even more. And that stretches that relationship, not just with the student, but with the family. And so again, it's just all those efforts of trying to really bridge that gap and let kids know that we really do care about them and we're interested in what they've got going on. Mm-hmm. And when you do that, you open the door.
So when you open the door, then, Mr. Lamkey, what's next? I mean, is it as just simple as conversations maybe twice a week? Is it reaching out to a counselor? What does that look like next?
I think it depends on what's necessary. And when I look at this, is what we're doing. It's what I call a universal platform. This is something we spread out across the district to everybody. And what it doesn't do, it doesn't necessarily focus on the individual things that are going on. We have systems in place that do that. But I think what it does is, because you're doing it universally across the board, is that you're really lessening the chance that kids are going to have these problems, because you have an opportunity of seeing them start early. And so you're doing things early to prevent them from becoming problems. And when that happens, it's just a natural thing. You're going to have some students, some staff members that are going to need extra help, that there's something going on in their life that just a universal program is not going to fix. But when you eliminate the other students that, from that matter, and the fact that you do a universal program that helps them before they have problems, that really allows you to focus on the students that need your help. Mm-hmm. And so that's what it looks like after that. So primarily, you're eliminating the chances of too many kids hitting that secondary or tertiary level where they need extra help. And it allows our counselors, our teachers, our administration, and outside services to focus on the true needs of those students who are struggling.
This, I would venture a guess, would trickle down into other areas, specifically the academic performance of the kids. Is that a byproduct, do you think?
Oh, our students' achievement in the classroom, and whether it's coming from a behavior problem or lack of turning in work or just a lack of focus in a classroom, 9 times out of 10, it's not what's going on in the building, it's what's going on outside the building. So when you can reach out there and start helping our students and our families with those things that are triggering the concerns at school, where they're not getting work done or they are getting in trouble, then all of a sudden you're eliminating that and you're allowing them to have a better chance of success. So absolutely, these things go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm. Any other ways that this trickles down into other aspects of kids and teachers' lives?
Yeah, I think people take it home. I think, this whole program with capturing kids' hearts, one of the biggest things it forces you to take a different look at people. We get so focused that when something happens, whether a driver cuts us off on the highway or somebody flips you off going down the road, and we instantly get angry. And we get mad about that, and that's kind of rightfully so. But at the same time, that wasn't about us. There's something else going on in that person's life. I think if we understand that what's happening in the moment isn't necessarily about us, it's about other things, and you can be thoughtful more caring, and maybe a little more patient with people. And I truly think that was one thing our staff got out of that training this summer, was that you got to take an open look at people and understand there's other things going on in their life that's causing them to act the way they are right now.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think that's a big thing.
Yeah, I don't know if you know who Jocko Willnick is, but that's something he preaches hardcore about, is just a compassionate approach to, situations where you could easily get outraged. I mean, that's kind of something he talks about a lot. I find that very helpful, to be quite honest.
Well, I'd like to read into that, because that's a philosophy I truly believe in, that, you got to look at the whole person and understand what's going on in their life to understand who they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd like to read him.
Yeah. He's pretty solid. I think he's a former, I don't want to say Green Beret, but maybe a Marine. I'm not positive, but I think he's a weightlifter now and does a lot of stuff with that world. But anyways, yeah, he's tremendous. He really is. But at any rate, Mr. Lamkey, anything on this program we haven't talked about? I can't believe it, but we've already spent 10 minutes on capturing kids' hearts. Did we miss anything that I didn't ask about that I should have?
No, you didn't. And just knowing that this isn't the last time they come into our district, because accountability is going to keep us on the right path here and building systems in. And that's what we're doing. But, I think probably maybe in the spring we can give you a little update on what's going on.
That sounds great. Now, you mentioned that there is follow-up with this program. Do your teachers do like continuing training, continuing education, or anything like that as this goes along?
Yeah, the 2 days of training where we're building leadership within our district, that's going to allow us to put this into our building leadership team and make that part of our professional development throughout the year. So when we see we need to tune something up, or we need to introduce something new, that the whole process is done through a combination of working with our teachers and administration on the building leadership team to look at those things. This is what we need right now to service our students and teachers best. So yeah, it's definitely ongoing in our district with built-in systems.
Sure. Awesome. Well, I know you listened to my conversation with Mr. Nettles here earlier today. So we're going to kind of dive into some of the same talking points that I had with him here in just a bit. But in the meantime, Mr. Lamkey, how do folks keep up with Mt Pulaski Schools and all the things you've got going on there? What's the best way to do that?
You can keep up with us on Twitter. It's MPCUD23. Facebook, our grade school and high school both have fantastic pages that give you just a bunch of information. And also we have a nice webpage also at Mt Pulaski K12.il.us.
That is Fred Lamkey, Superintendent of Mt Pulaski Schools. He's my guest on the phone, and we've got plenty more with him coming up on the WHOW Morning Show.
You connected.
Let's check the markets now on the RFD Radio Network for this Wednesday. I'm Jim Taylor. Corn higher, beans and wheat double-digit higher at this hour. December corn 5.79 3/4, up 8 3/4. March corn up 8 1/4, 5.85 3/4. December 22 corn 5.56, up 6 1/4. January beans 12.84 1/2, up 33 1/4. March beans up 32 1/2, 12.95 3/4. November 22 beans 12.65 3/4, up 20 1/2. December wheat up 19 3/4, 8.30. March wheat up 19 1/4, 8.39 1/4. July wheat 8.28 3/4, up 15 3/4. December bean meal 381.30, up 13.80. December bean oil up 91 cents, 60.08. The livestock market, December live cattle up 42 cents, November feeders up a nickel, and December lean hogs down $1.02, 76.70. I'm Jim Taylor.
MR Systems Wireless has an immediate opening. They're looking for a full-time internet installer to perform the initial setup of wireless internet and voice over IP services, as well as troubleshoot and repair wireless and phone services for customers. You'll be responsible for the basic installation and maintenance of wireless equipment. No experience necessary. Includes health benefits, mileage reimbursed. Starting pay is $15 an hour. Find out more and apply by going to mrsystemswireless.com, then clicking About, then Employment. Equal opportunity employer.
Cropland Seed is celebrating 25 seasons of gratitude, and our appreciation keeps growing. Every season has been a learning opportunity. So what have we discovered over the last 25 years? Just how grateful we are for the growers who trust their seasons to Cropland Seed. Putting your trust in our innovation and performance can help make your harvest a success. Talk to your Winfield United retailer today or learn more at cropland.com.
Today's morning show can be heard by downloading the free WHOW mobile app in your favorite store.
Once again, good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence, and my guest on the phone is Fred Lamkey, Superintendent of Mt Pulaski Schools. And Mr. Lamkey, I know there is a joint meeting this week between the State Board of Education and the State Superintendents Association or something of that nature. But at any rate, what's going on? And I know you're going to be in Chicago for this. Tell us about this.
Yeah, this is the weekend that the three major Illinois associations get together between the school boards, the State Board of Education, and the financial organizations. And we have a conference in Chicago. And what always precedes that conference in Chicago, ISB takes their meeting up to Chicago. So I'll be stepping in for Illinois State Board of Education meeting, and I'm going to offer some testimony again in regard to what's going on in schools and maybe some things I'd like them to focus on.
What's your message going to be, if you don't mind me asking? Like, what do you want them to focus on?
Well, one thing that's happened, and this is something that's been ongoing. I've got on this a little bit later than others. Kurt in Clinton has done a great job being at all these meetings since August. And the last couple of months, I've been trying to involve myself. And what's going on is we've been trying to get ISB to be better communicators with us, to work with us. And I really think the effort made by the superintendents before me, that's starting to happen right now. We are in conversations with Dr. Ayala and the state board, and we're starting to get some focus and understanding of where we need to go. So that part of it was accomplished. My concern is, and what my major message coming in to the meeting tomorrow is going to be, that right now we're creating divisions in schools. And it's not just inside the school, and it's not just on the Board of Education, but within the communities and everywhere else. It's becoming so divisive on how we handle these situations, and mostly talking about masks and mandates and mitigation, that I'm afraid it's going to start, deteriorating what we were building. And they've got to understand that at some point in time, we have to deliver that responsibility of making decisions back to the school districts so we can keep these problems from happening on a local level. And they're still taking that blanket approach across the state. And it's not so much ISB, it's what ISB is being told by the governor's office and IDPH.
Yeah, and so, like I mentioned before we went to break, you heard my conversation with Mr. Nettles earlier this morning. I'm kind of curious, like what did he say that you can relate to and you feel similarly about?
Well, one thing that he's been talking about is that the relationship is getting built with ISB. Right now, Dr. Ayala is sitting down with Mr. Nettles and a group of superintendents, and that's something that's unprecedented, that has not happened. And our voices are being heard, and we're not getting necessarily answers that we want right now, but the state board isn't really in a position to offer solutions to those things, because they're having to kind of work with powers that be, and they have to follow instructions that are handed down to them. The organizations that supersede what they get to say. But I think at least we've developed that relationship, and we feel like we have the state board's ear now, and that they're in our corner with us. And to me, that's one of the biggest things that Kurt's been talking about lately.
Yeah, sure. Have you been able to correspond with the state superintendent? And if so, what are your impressions of those interactions, but also her?
Other than it, when I go to state board meetings, no, my interactions have not happened. Again, there is a group of superintendents that are working, representing the whole. So I personally have not, but I have been in contact with several members of the state board and people on that, and that's encouraging too, that we have their ear and that they're working for us.
Yeah, and so what's just in terms of what you're doing, it's one thing for them to kind of continue these efforts and advocate for everybody, but are you doing anything in particular as well along those lines?
Really, I'm just trying to maintain the line in Mt Pulaski, and trying to educate my board on why we have to make the decisions that we're making right now. I don't know anybody that really wants to be wearing masks. I don't know of anybody that really 100% believes that is what's keeping us from getting sick. I always come from the perspective, I'm not a doctor and I don't know. But what I do know is in our district's best interest that we have to maintain the expectations set by the state so we can keep going. Because right now in Mt Pulaski, we do not have, we have just occasional cases of COVID in our buildings. We are not having to quarantine. The only people we quarantine are usually out of families where COVID comes in. So if there's 5 people in a family and 3 kids, we quarantine the 3 kids because they have it in their family, but it's not coming from school. So we're operating very normal. Our programs are being very successful. Our ag students, they attend the national convention. We're doing chapter meetings. We have chorus concerts coming up. We have basketball going on. We had a state baseball tournament. We got fourth, and there's all kinds of great things going on. And what I don't want to do is step outside the guidelines and risk losing our full days of instruction, risk quarantining more students. Because right now, beyond wearing a mask, life's pretty normal in Mount Pulaski.
Gotcha. Good stuff. Anything else on that, Mr. Lamkey, you want to put out there for us that we don't know or we should know?
No, but I hope the next time we talk that I'm going to be able to tell you that some of these new items that we're bringing before the state board is getting their attention again, and we're making more progress.
From your lips to God's ears, Mr. Lamkey. That's what we hope. I'll tell you what, as we wrap up here this morning, I got a chance to catch up with your basketball coach yesterday afternoon, and sounds like you had that just hugely successful baseball season in the spring. Sounds like you could be in for quite a basketball season again in Mount Pulaski.
Yeah, Coach Dybert, we've had a nice run the last couple of years. We had a regional championship in 2019, and last year we did very well. We got to double digits in a real limited season in wins, and the kids, he gets the kids to play so hard. And when you watch them play basketball, they're just disruptive. And it's kind of the same way our girls basketball program plays too. They're just very disruptive, and they work so hard at it that they wear teams down. He does a great job of getting them in shape and motivated, and we are looking forward to a good season.
I should have asked him this. How long has he been in Mount Pulaski?
Well, that's a good. He's been at Mount Pulaski his whole life. He was a student at Mount Pulaski, went away to college and came back and became a teacher here. He started off as an assistant coach, and he worked his way through the system. I want to say right now and I don't know this exactly, but it's over 10 years he's been the varsity coach.
Oh, wow.
I believe he replaced Jim Jumper in his last stint here. And I want to say that goes back to the 2010, sometime around then.
Interesting stuff. So what else is on your radar, Mr. Lamkey? Sports-wise, extracurricular-wise, what else has been going on in your district?
I started talking about it. Everything's going on in our district, and we're having great success across the board. We had one of our ag students, Walker Allen, was selected kind of for the American Idol of FFA, where he got to go up against other ag students and perform. He's a great vocalist, and he plays guitar, country music, and some folk music, and some things like that are really up his alley. But he represented us at the national convention and got to perform there. We're seeing success, just across the district. Our basketball team, girls basketball team's off to 2-0, beat Olympia last night in what we call a little bit of an upset. Our girls junior high teams both have one loss. And coming into regional, seventh grade, I think they both have a shot at going to state this year, which is exciting. And then our boys basketball team's right behind them. They're starting their season, but they're undefeated too at eighth grade. And we're just putting a lot of W's on the board. And we got a lot of kids smiling, a lot of kids active, and a lot of parents happy to be back in the gym after last year.
Yeah, Walker Allen was on our Farm Broadcasters show one day, so he got to catch up with him. So that is really quite an honor for an accomplishment for him. So that's really cool. So, Mr. Lamkey, I hate to do this. I look at the clock. I got to let you go. What's the best way for folks to follow along with all things Mount Pulaski?
Hey, catch us on Twitter. We're MPCUD23. Facebook, the Great School High School are both on there. Just look them up. And then our website is mountpulaski.k12.il.us.
Fred Lamkey, Superintendent of Mount Pulaski Schools, my guest. Network News on the way.
The Big 50.